Over the years, realized I can put myself in places where it's more likely to occur, inspiration that is. Not to keep up with something that you can't catch up with, but to be inspired by it. I just want to do this. I don't need to approve it by anybody. I just really need to do this thing. And knowing the right way to do things or understanding the process behind it.
Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 to 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 to 9. This one's for my top 10.
He's Trent Reznor, and here's my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Express yourself.
Years ago when I did the music that was going to be Pretty Hate Machine, I'd always wanted to be in a band. I thought I wanted to do this, I thought. And when I finally had the courage to sit down and try to write music, first I just tried to write lyrics just to have lyrics to put in a song. It didn't mean anything, and they were bad. And it wasn't until I had the courage to I realized I was keeping a journal of like things that I wouldn't show anybody, and things I wasn't really proud to feel, but I had to get it out somehow. And so when I incorporated them into a few songs, and I realized that I'd struck something that made me feel better to get it out, and it had an honesty and an integrity to it that I think can only come from meaning something instead of pretending that you're a character doing something. So I kind of used that as the framework for 9 Inch Nails, where every record I've done really expresses where my head's been at when I've done it. And I think it has a truthfulness to it and an integrity or sincerity that I think that's where it's going. I know that, I mean, now I'm faced with some, hey, The Fragile doesn't sound like Downward Spiral. In America, it hasn't sold as well as Downward Spiral did. No, did you think it's a failure? No, I don't. It reflects where I've been when I did it, and that's the record I had to make, and very proud of it.
Rule number 2, seek inspiration.
What I've learned about inspiration over the years is I used to live in constant fear, and I was afraid of writing, and I was afraid of, I loved playing live, I loved executing, I loved that side of it, but that blank piece of paper was my worst fear. And I know now that staring at that piece of paper saying, I've got to write the best song in the world. How did I ever write that song? What was I thinking of? Am I ever going to be able to write something as good as that? Was that an accident, you know? Did I subconsciously steal that from someone and I don't realize it, you know, all those things. And I've kind of, over the years, realized I can put myself in places where it's more likely to occur, inspiration that is. I can cut time out of my day to go for a walk, or I can ride in the car with a tape deck in my pocket, a little recorder. And if I'm thinking about something, capture it. Or if I'm in a place where I can lay in bed for an extra 20 minutes in the morning, which is when I get most of my ideas. And if I set that time aside, those ideas are out there. I just have to tune into, I have to be in the right frame of mind. If I'm living in a head down, execute, million things to do today world, it doesn't come to me as much.
Rule number 3, be creative.
We've found over the years that if we put up creative limitations and rules, for example, with the How to Destroy Angels record that we did, we focused on it having a very synthetic, rhythmic section. We wanted it to feel kind of dark and a little bit dirty, but we wanted it to have a beauty to it, not be abrasive, but have a kind of sexiness, and that tells us in the language of instrumentation that we'll probably use these instruments and start that way. And then when we start actually working on it, we might find that, and we often do, that, hey, this isn't as exciting as playing it on the piano, for example, and then we modify that rule to go that direction. Again, what Atticus and I were doing, we're thinking, okay, we need something that sounds like the spark of creativity, you know, of acceleration, of that you've got a good idea and you want to follow it to its course, and that excitement of, for example.
Rule number 4, evolve.
I've worked with, I've certainly embedded myself and watched how some people have done stuff. I have younger friends and newer bands that I watch how they, I'm inspired by how they put things together. I very much do that listening to music of, I've unashamedly have studied production techniques and records and try to keep, not to keep up with something that you can't catch up with, but to be inspired by it, to hear something. My favorite records are the ones that I usually don't like at first because I don't get it, but I'm intrigued enough that I'll listen to it a second time and it starts to reveal itself. And I can think of records that after 10 listens have changed me, as after 100 listens of now I understand, I have a new vocabulary I didn't have, before I went down that path. I try to balance that out with my nature is to be insular and just hide in a cave somewhere and not, not interact with the outside world. So
it's hard to be a rock star hiding in a cave.
It can be done.
I guess it can be.
I lived in a cave in New Orleans for 12 years, and it's because it's a weird world in itself, but the only thing that matters to me throughout that is trying to do the best work I can do, and trying to continue to evolve into whatever my final form is, right now, rather than getting stuck at a comfortable spot along the way.
Also, if you want to learn how to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. It's free. The link is in the description below.
I'm not exactly quitting, but here's this thing that happened. And he said, it's your shot. I said, yeah. He said, take it.
And we have trouble, we're like, oh my God, I just want to give up. Did you ever feel like that? Like,
all the time. All the time. And then you push through it.
Rule number 5, do it your way.
I started this record off really pretty afraid to see if I could write. I was afraid to kind of test that out in my new world and life I was living. And I started talking to Rick, and Rick's been a friend of mine for quite some time, and it was really a good person, a good amount of input to have around, and kind of as a mentor. When I came out to LA after that to start writing, I would check in with him and send him songs and start with feedback on that. And there came a point when a part of me just felt like my confidence had grown. I've never felt more strongly than I did at the time about what I was working on. And I felt like I need to just do this my way. I need to see it through the way I would see it through, for better or for worse. And it wasn't against me, ideas Rick had. It was just every cell in my body of an artist said, just do this record the way you would do it, Because I didn't feel short of ideas, and I felt like I had a plan, and I felt like I just want to do this. I don't need to approve it by anybody. I just really need to do this thing. And I'm happy with how it turned out. I don't know how it would have turned out, and I never will, but it was, I feel like it was what I needed to do at the time.
Rule number 6, limit your options.
Limiting your options can be a very inspiring thing, and we do that to some degree on every project we do. There's a tipping point where it probably isn't fun and it's just frustrating. But often we have option anxiety because we've spent our lives collecting this room full of stuff. The exotic thing that does this one thing great, and then you sit in that room and you look, and you're not sure where to start because there's an infinite amount of places to start. So limiting options, creating rules, making yourself work a certain way. Initially feeling uncomfortable, I think, has great value in terms of, for us, sparking an idea that you wouldn't have come up with left to the comfortable way to do it.
Rule number 7, keep pushing yourself.
To me, I feel like I have a long way to go as a songwriter, and I have a long way to go in terms of learning how sound works and how arrangements can achieve something in the listener. And my goal really is trying to evoke emotional response from the listener, whether it be happiness or dread or anger or goosebumps, whatever that means to people. But by no means do I feel like I know how to do that really well. I feel like I've got a lot to learn, so I try to keep pushing myself into getting better at things.
Rule number 8, go with your gut.
Knowing the right way to do things or understanding the process behind it or the technique. You know, I've practiced long and hard on several instruments. You know, I know how to read music. I've studied music theory. I have that knowledge. I try to often not pay attention to it and try to go just with gut and not try to overanalyze. Oh, I'm playing this and that should resolve to that. Just find my way in, and in later years, and it might just be loss of memory, you know, and being old. But I think I can pretty successfully kind of feel my way from my soul into a place, and then have the ability, though, to switch and go, oh, I understand this. That might lead to this thing, and use that tool of technique.
Rule number 9, just keep doing it.
The other thing is just to not think you have to write the best thing in the world. Just write, keep writing. You know, I've read that, and I listened. Someone told me that years and years ago, but I couldn't. You know, I knew better. I thought I did. And now I just keep at it, and I have the confidence to try things, and I hope I have the editorial hat to put on later to stop you from hearing most of the stuff that doesn't reach the quality control level.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is have passion.
Say your name. Try to speak as clearly as you can. You know, everything is written down. Not your head. Just in case they couldn't want you with their shiny satellites. I hope they cannot see the limitless potential living inside of me. Tomorrow, every day. I hope they cannot see. I am no great destroyer. Turn it up. Listen to the they pump into your head, filling you with apathy. Won't you go? Wait until you know the time is right. On time, the end is near. I hope they cannot see the limitless potential living inside of me. Tomorrow, every day. I hope they cannot see. I am the great destroyer.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Trent on why you shouldn't be doing it for the money that I really think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1. What do you need to just go with your gut on? Number 2, where do you need to better express yourself? And number 3, what can you do to seek inspiration daily?
Bands that I find that I like, I inherently have a sense that they mean it. And that matters to me. If I think somebody's just following the trend because that's what you do today.
Do you think it's like the industry that kind of makes, or that artists choose to sort of buff the edges because they think they're going to sell more, or?
I think it comes down to an artist's decision, which is independent, which is specific to each artist, of why they're doing it. And if they're doing it to, I mean, I can sound. I'm trying to put my
you don't want to
vulgarity censorship chip in right now. I can sound full of myself, but I can tell you that I'm glad to make money doing this, but I'm doing it because I love music, and this is what I would do anyway. And if I had to work at McDonald's to make music at night, that's what I would do. But I think a lot of people now are doing music just to make money and trying to hoodwink people into believing that there's some sincerity there. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
But I think when you're in a climate where you're much more congratulated on your business sense than you are your talent, that something's not quite right with the scene right now.
If you like this video, check out the top 10 I did on Henry Rollins. The link is right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
And I go at everything with that amount of fury.
Every damn person who said I wouldn't be anything, I'm crushing them every day.
What are you doing tomorrow?